It's a nice Sunday morning here in Leiden, and today, to celebrate that, we're gonna draw some monsters and maybe even robots. Because, as you might know, on Discord, which you can access on Twitch by typing !Discord, or checking out the description in on YouTube. But there we have a challenge going on right now. And the challenge is to do something with monsters and robots. It's not really specified what. You can do whatever you want. And today I think it might be fun to doodle some of that ourselves live on stream. So a while ago, but you can find this also on Discord in better quality, and this is unfinished yet. But a while ago I was thinking, what are the ways of creating new ideas, just kind of out of my own curiosity for things. And after brainstorming and researching and figuring out kind of what are the main methods kind of coming up with new ideas, I came up with this tree. So maybe we can try and use this tree in practice. The idea is that, you know, there is a different version of the tree that has roots as well, but the roots are kind of your input and the branches are your output. So this is like a visual library, your experience, your skills, your cultural environment, all this kind of stuff. And then you get, I guess the trunk is the prompt for like the topic you're trying to explore, and the branches are the ways you can explore the topic. That was an owl. Did you hear an owl? It was unexpected. So, for example, if here in the beginning of the tree we have, or in the trunk, our idea is to create a monster robot hybrid. Let's actually name this so people who join the stream later will know what we're talking about. A monster. There you go. So if we have in the middle the topic being monster and robot, here are some ways we can think about it. So if we pick maybe this middle one, analogy. The way you apply this is you ask yourself, like this tree kind of helps you ask questions, right, to come up with the new ideas. So for analogy, like it could be, what kind of monster feels like a machine or robot? Or you know, like the analogy can be a metaphor, you know, maybe a whale is a metaphor to a rich person or something like that. And then mimicry is when something looks like something else. So like a mannequin that is dressed really well would be, I guess, a mimicry of the same whale person. Or if you think about constraint, that's kind of the most obvious one from the point of view of like challenges, because that's usually the constraints you set yourself within the challenge. So like maybe a rule and limitation could be just use one monster part, or just use 3 robotic elements. The transformation and this transcode and adaptation could be more like what is changing into what. So you take one part of a robot and transform it into a monster. Composition, decomposition is also kind of similar in that way. You can decompose monster and robot into concepts and then just take an abstraction of one element. So maybe, for example, you can think about it like monster is composed of claws, wings, and teeth and horns, or something like that. Or you can think about it in a different way. Then the monster is composed of, I don't know, fear, anxiety, and darkness, or something like that. What else do we have here? Swap is also a method when you, for example, invert or substitute certain ideas. So if you flip an obvious idea, for example, if the monster is usually the predator, maybe you make it a prey. So for that challenge, I think you get the idea, and if you get the better view of this tree on Discord, you might be able to use it. And I think, or I hope, I haven't tested it, but my hope was to have like a generic idea generation visuals, not specifically for art, but not specifically for visual art and concepts, but for anything really. So, you know, if you're making music, for example, you can also use the same methods and maybe like swap the kick drum with a different sample, or with synthesis you can try to fuse different genres into something new, or decompose a certain genre into very core concepts and try to reassemble those. So let's see if this is helpful for our monster robot prompt. Maybe it's today will be probably a bit of a shorter stream, so I'm aiming, now that I have wasted 15 minutes on fixing the audio, I'm aiming for another hour and a half, and obviously we will need to leave some time in the end for the music improvisation part. Let's see what it's gonna be today. So maybe first it's good, like with any design task. It's good to understand what do you actually mean by those terms. So, for example, monster and robot. Like, what if you draw something? How would you figure out it's actually a robot or a monster? This is where it gets a bit subjective, I guess, and this is where your creativity can shine through. But for me, monster is probably something more. It's like a big, dark shape of sorts. Probably something with maybe like tentacles. Tentacles are great for monsters because we don't have that many animals with tentacles. I think everything that looks unusual or uncanny is a good candidate for monstrification. Just need to exaggerate it and make it somewhat threatening. So it also probably would have some kind of teeth. Basically, it's something dangerous, something that invokes fear and anxiety. Maybe sometimes disgust, so maybe like adding something flashy, like an eye, or I don't know. So this is, I guess, the essence of a monster. Maybe it also needs some like, creepy thing. Hands. Claws is also often monstrous part. Having too many or too few joints in limbs. It's also a common attribute of a monster. And spikes everywhere. Horns. Maybe we can add some horn on this side. This is not the monster we're gonna combine with the robot. This is just an amalgamation, so to say, or combination of monstrous parts. Often also like having a human face there or some human features make it more creepy because don't expect humans to have extra mouths. Then another thing is something kind of slimy or sticky. Monsters often ooze things, so like maybe there are some pores that are oozing gas. Now it looks like the monster is thinking about something. Yeah, that's good enough, I think. Now let's do the same with the robot. What does the robot mean? I guess being a robot is just being kind of mechanical and manufactured. And because you're, as a robot, you're specifically designed for the purpose. I think one of the key characteristics of things that are robotic and organic is the perfect geometric shapes. You know, like they can have multiple exactly the same size and shape items, sorts. Depending on when the robot has been produced, it can have very different looks. So we can have like a steampunk robot, or more futuristic or cyberpunk robot. But for this, because it's again just an amalgamation of robotness, I think adding like panels sort of thing with rivets helps to sell that it's made of metal. Perfect circles is also a good thing if you can grow one. I can't, but don't let that stop you. And like reflective surfaces is also something that you usually see in robots rather than animals. Then another thing that I like to add to robotic things is hanging wires. Obviously it doesn't probably scream realism, because why would you keep the wires hanging like that? But in some cases, why wouldn't you? Then robots can also have tentacles, but it would be more like a segmented mechanical arm, which can also add to this roboticness. And then, of course, robots could have wheels, which most other animals somehow don't. Are there any animals or life forms that have wheels, except humans? So another thing robots could have is this kind of hydraulic joints, and can also have hands. Can also be creepy. He's cute, the robot. Well, we need something to contrast with the monstrosity above. So if it's a cute robot, it's fine. That works. Then maybe also having like antenna or like a satellite dish is also something a robot could have. Maybe another antenna to this other side. And another thing is adding like canisters of sorts. You know, robots need energy like everyone else, but they can carry canisters of energy like some other things can. So maybe like a canister of oil or a battery of sorts would be fun. So these would be our core concept blocks for monsters and robots. Now, how can we develop this idea of combining them a bit further? Well, we can use the tree as we discussed before to help. Usually I try I have 3-step process, like I guess a lot of people do. First you just doodle a silhouette for a thumbnail. Then you develop it, the silhouette, I guess. Here, and then you have details, which is like lighting, all that stuff. So we start with something simple. So maybe the body of this thing is like a robot. So we can use the tree to just, you know, see the starting points for how to transform existing ideas into new. So maybe we use the monster with the wheel, says Nervan. Maybe we do a monster with the wheel. Maybe we take one part of it, like robot part. So maybe there is like a robot, like kinda humanoid, kinda not super humanoid, just a barrel, like a vacuum cleaner, but with like a thing at the bottom for cleaning with the brush, and like a screen in the front. And then maybe the robot has some part from monsters, If we just keep it simple, maybe there are just tentacles coming out of it. You know, in any difficult situation, if you're feeling stuck, try adding tentacles to your drawing, and might be what was missing. Another idea of transformation could be maybe just like a monster with like a two-legged monster of sorts, just like a shadow, like two legs with a mouth on the stick. But then instead of now we need to add some robot parts, so maybe it has like a armor in front of it. Or some sort of, you know, batteries attached to the legs. Now it sounds weirder than I thought. Or maybe instead we take like this decomposition idea and decompose the monster into, let's make like an animal looking monster. Maybe it's long and kinda bug legs and a scorpion tail. Since we're here, looks a little bit like the head of the thing from the Stranger Things, the Demogorgon. I keep breaking this pencil because I'm pressing so hard. Bit frustrating. And then I press harder. Then it breaks again. I don't know, maybe this monster has maybe the head is actually a robotic head. That's what I wanted to try. Substitute. You know, like the body of a monster even though it just looks like a scorpion. Sometimes monsters are just amorphous, just have multiple eyes. Like a shapeless body that maybe then morphs into, or maybe the body is still shapeless, just walks on 3 tentacles. But then it has like a radar on it. This monster is missing something. It just has an armor, but just a chest plate. But it doesn't really scream robot to me. Maybe we need to add like some kind of a processing unit, like a PC on that. Just a monster carrying a personal computer. Maybe like a canister of sorts at the back. Another fun thing could be if we take, I don't know, maybe just, no, Roomba is too simple. Some other kind of, maybe like one of those Boston Dynamics dogs. No, I can't remember how their legs look. I think like this. And then they also have this arm and the front. Looks a bit like a walking coffin now, but that's okay. So what if we make it maybe like this head part has turned into something else? So maybe it would just have like a huge mouth in the front. Or maybe the claw becomes like a actual kind of hand. Hands are notoriously hard to draw though. Yeah, I like this concept most, I think, out of all of these. What do you guys think? Does this work? Let's draw a side view of it, just to make sure it looks. Maybe it needs to be extended and reaching out for something. Like this side view kind of more. I think this reaching motion is good to have. Well, this way it can hang something in front of it. Wow, maybe there is like a person. Oh no, don't eat me. Know how big this monster is, but if we put houses next to it, it looks huge. What if the body is also a bit more shapeless? So like this hand, maybe it's not the hand, maybe it's like a tentacle with a thing. But the legs and the joints are robotic. It's also okay. There is also some space here where I thought maybe we can iterate on this monster up here. That was just an example of a monster. But if we think about a robot being, you know, like a vending machine, maybe. Is it a robot? Well, not right now. But it could be in the future, like if it's a vending machine on wheels. But then instead of, well, not instead of wheels, but maybe from the top is like is a head or some sort of mouth, maybe. Maybe it holds like a dollar bill in its tentacle. Some money to lure people into the vending machine. Well, that's also a neat concept. I feel like it's a bit less explicitly a robot because it doesn't, like, you know, vending machine doesn't scream robot to me. But as a monster machine hybrid, it's actually pretty cool. So we have choice from vending machine monster, and then the Boston Dynamics monster, and maybe I don't know if any of these worth mentioning. But if you like any of those, let me know. Okay, let's get a new page. I think I like the Monster A little bit better, just because it's kind of derpy. Or it says I like B. I mean 2. What do you like about the 2? 2 is also good. 2 is more robotic than the vending machine. The vending machine is more like just a monster living in the vending machine. Maybe I will draw that one separately. I'm very easily convinced. You see, one person says I like 2, and then I like 2. I don't have glasses on. Looks like 2 for me. Well, it's alright. Let's do the 2. I like this iteration with the tentacle, and maybe the arm is also worth it. This one somewhere. You can see it. Oh yeah, this is the other side of the tree. There's the roots. You know, observation, library, research, experience, play, collaboration. I should finish this project and then release the tree as a poster. I like the legs and mouth on B. Alright, let's see what we can do with the B. Kind of first need to figure out the rest of the silhouette. So we have this kind of box. We have these legs. So we can have multiple tentacles at the top. That could be one idea. Another one maybe. I want to keep the legs because they give this distinctive silhouette to it. But the body itself, maybe it's just like a blob of flesh with a creepy mouth opening in the front and eyes everywhere. Then it also can have this tentacle, but maybe not as an arm, but like as an anglerfish. We're just kind of thinking about the silhouette, right? Like what would be an interesting silhouette to have. I also would like to experiment with the mouth, not just the tentacle above, because this can also be pretty cool or creepy or both. This shapeless blob is growing on me. I mean, I like this shapeless guy more and more. I don't like that it's so shapeless because it kind of removes the roboticness, roboticism from it. But maybe we can adjust the shape a little bit. Here. Kind of a bit too high. Let's bring it down. And maybe we're looking at it in 3/4, so it's like this, so we can see the face. We need like a square. I don't think actually we will need watercolors. It's just gonna be pencil and maybe ink. And in terms of the groove at the end, if you have any ideas what we could try out and experiment with, let me know. Otherwise, nobody knows what it's gonna be. I think yesterday I thought I never tried reggaeton or these dance beats. Maybe that's something, right? So we'll have this guy roughly here, and the legs would go this level. It's gonna be a orthodox view. No, what is it called? Orthopedic. Orthogonal. There you go. Orthogonal view. So we won't have any perspective. Because ultimately, I just don't want to bother with perspective right now. It's a perspective-free Sunday. Tentacle. This. Maybe this tentacle is actually not, you know, like a part of the monster, but maybe it's like a symbiotic relationship. There is like a root coming down, maybe surrounding this bot. And then here in the front, it has like a cover flash with the mouth. That's kind of reaching out towards the food. Normally, if you don't know how to draw something or how something looks in real life, you reference it or look it up. I was just thinking that I kind of have no idea how these joints should work mechanically. I have kind of a vague assumption. It's not really clear understanding, so we'll just wing it for now. Next stream will be returning to world building, probably. Haven't decided yet if it's gonna be creatures or landscapes. I had a little bit of landscapes, but can always have some more. Also, from studio news, the t-shirt, first official Sagamore Studio t-shirt, has arrived at my home. The test shirt to see the print quality and all that. So that's exciting. And when there is one, there will be many. So stay tuned for shop updates with t-shirts and prints as a sneak peek, or sneak peek. It's not a sneak peek if I'm just saying things, right? You're not peeking anywhere. But the first series of prints that I'm developing has the message of slowing down. I think each series of prints will be with kind of like some sort of message or reminder for myself and anyone who would purchase that shirt. And the first message would be to slow down, because I think in the current state of the world that is speeding up in a lot of ways, you know, even just individually, everybody is growing older. There is not a single person who is avoiding that part. And as you get older, your psychological perception of time changes as well. And as far as I understand, it feels like the time is getting faster or passing faster the older you get. So not only that, but a lot of companies in the world and other parties involved have it in kind of their direct interests for things to go faster and speed up. But not only that, this is sort of like a model of a lot of businesses that if faster, better, stronger, more profitable, but also if you stress out your customers enough, they will make worse decisions. So in a way, if you're speeding and giving in to those temptations of social media and, well, a lot of other places in the world, then you end up kind of making, you know, impulse purchases or subscribing to stuff you actually wouldn't want to subscribe, or writing an angry comment about the things you wouldn't normally even care about. So with all that in mind, it feels like slowing down is the only reasonable humanistic answer to that challenge. So that's gonna be my message in the first set of prints. Coming soon to the online store. Is gonna be a first product, and it's mostly gonna be a lot of testing. like with taxes and how everything works. But ultimately, I want to also encourage people to join the Patreon to support the studio, and for that I will be eventually offering early access or discounts or early access to limited products, stuff like that. And there is a free tier, so if you don't want to miss point when stuff starts happening, subscribe now. Let's clean this up a little bit so those construction lines are not as visible. Let's maybe ink it. What do you think? Good idea? Let's ink it and then we can listen to some improvised tunes and call it a day. Well, have a day stream. Use the ruler. Check. Oh, it seems to be. for the items further in the distance, I'm trying to do a lighter line so the things in front are thicker and darker. And this way it will look like it's closer. Oh. What I like about the process of doing pencil and ink combination is that when you're drawing with a pencil, you can be kind of very loose and sketchy, and then when you go over it with a pen, it suddenly starts to come together, because from the 10 lines that you have drawn with the pencil, you pick the one that you like the most. Well, I say that you pick the line that you like the most, but it doesn't always work, you know. Sometimes the line just gets picked by some accident. A move of a hand. A sudden itch. In general, I feel like monsters is very lucrative theme. because you can go in the direction of historical monsters and interpretations from different cultures. You can also think of monsters from psychology point of view, or of some maybe realistic point of view, like what's the closest thing that comes to monsters in real life or in real world. Now the longest tentacle. Kind of wanted to look twisted, kind of something between muscles and vines for extra monsterness. Since robots are very, mechanical, manufactured, and it's perfectly produced for their purpose, the monster part should feel, I guess, even more organic and weird. It's smooth. I think this is where we're gonna leave this creature and do some music, or it's too late. Let's see. Can achieve. For those of you who are new to this, which I think are none, the last 15 to 20 minutes of the stream are performed on a Roland MC101 groove box. This one. You never know what comes out of it, or rather, you never know where we will get. But let's see. Last time, this is what we had. I guess we'll just start there and see where this will take us. So I will hear the other side of this improv. just survive another one of those. As we did. I appreciate you all who stayed until the end. I hope you enjoyed what happened. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, like, join the Discord, do all that stuff. And I hope you have a nice day ahead of you. And I will see you all next time. Thank you.